Shifting focus to the UK now. The UK Foreign Minister Jeremy Hunt has now stepped in to douse a potential diplomatic storm after the leak of a confidential memo. Hunt, who is a contender to replace Theresa May at 10 Downing Street, says he does not share some of the views in the letter and that Britain and the US share the warmest of relationships. US President Donald Trump has hit back at the UK ambassador to the US following the leak of the confidential memo. Take a look.
It's a personal view, and there'll be many people in this building who don't agree with that view, and indeed I don't agree with some of the views that we saw in those letters. I've said I think that the US administration is highly effective, and we have the warmest of relationships and a partnership based on standing up for shared values.
Now, Hunt's remarks come after Trump told journalists that the ambassador, Sir Kim Darroch, had not served the UK well and that he is not a big fan of the diplomat.
Had our little ins and outs with a couple of countries, and I would say that the UK and the ambassador has not served the UK well. I can tell you that. We're not big fans of that man, and he has not served the UK well.
The UK Foreign Ministry has ordered an inquiry into the leak. Even UK Trade Minister Liam Fox, who is visiting Washington, has said that he would apologize to Trump's daughter Ivanka, who is due to meet during his trip. In a series of explosive memos to 10 Downing Street, the British ambassador to the US, Sir Kim Darroch, had described Trump as incompetent, inept and insecure. Sir Kim Darroch, one of UK's top diplomats, used secret cables and briefing notes to question the US president and his government. Now, in the diplomatic memos obtained by the Mail on Sunday newspaper of the UK ambassador hits out at the Trump government and the bitter scandals plaguing the White House. The memos touched upon the US's ties with Russia and ongoing tensions with Iran. The ambassador lashed out Trump's economic policies as well. The memos attacked Trump personally, warning that the 73-year-old's career could, quote-unquote, end in disgrace. Now, Sir Kim also gave a scathing assessment of the White House, saying, and I quote again, "We don't really believe this administration is going to become substantially more normal, less dysfunctional, less unpredictable, less faction-driven, less diplomatically clumsy and inept," unquote. He also questioned whether this White House will ever look competent. Now, referring to allegations of collusion between the Trump camp and Russia, the memo says that the worst cannot be ruled out. In one of his most recent documents, Kim refers to the incoherent US policy on Iran. He also questions Trump's publicly stated reason for calling off a retaliatory airstrike against Iran following the downing of an American drone. He also says it is unlikely that the US policy on Iran is going to become more coherent anytime soon. This is a divided administration, unquote. Sir Kim claimed that Trump's economic policies could wreck the world trade system. And the memo says, and I quote again, "This America First administration could do some profoundly damaging things to the world trade system," unquote. The memo also said that the differences between the US and the UK on climate change, media freedoms and the death penalty might come to the fore as the countries seek to improve trading relations after Brexit. The top diplomat also suggested a mantra in order to communicate with the US president. He says, and again I quote, "You need to make your point simple, even blunt," unquote. Now, the documents detail Sir Kim Darroch's judgments on the Trump government from 2017 up till now and could prove highly embarrassing for the UK Foreign Ministry. But the UK Embassy in Washington has said that they have strong relations with the White House and that these would continue despite the mischievous leak. And joining me live from London is WION, World One's very own Mandy Clarke. Good evening, Mandy. What do you make of this latest discordant noise, so to speak, in the transatlantic relationship? And how might it affect the fortunes of the two men in question, Jeremy Hunt and Boris Johnson?
Well, certainly it is a massive issue. It's a diplomatic scandal, really. These cables are meant to be secret because it's the opportunity for the ambassadors to speak bluntly, give the unvarnished truth as they see it. So it's certainly going to be a witch hunt in the Foreign Office to find out exactly who leaked these cables. It seems politically motivated. In many ways, it might even come from someone who's looking to push him out. Trump has always made it clear he wasn't a big fan of the UK ambassador even before this scandal. In many ways, the next Prime Minister, whether it is Boris Johnson or Jeremy Hunt, will likely be forced to change that ambassador because his ambassadorship will essentially be tainted, and they will require good relationship with White House. That is hard to see how that could continue forward. So in all likelihood, there will be a change of ambassador when we see that new prime minister, and that will be announced at the end of July. So we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like it will be certainly an ambassador who has a long career as a diplomat, who might have a very shortened career now.
And very quickly, Mandy, we've seen the best of times for the U.S.-UK relationships under Theresa May and Donald Trump. Can we expect any positive change to happen if either Jeremy Hunt or Boris Johnson, take to 10 Downing Street in the days ahead?
Well, Trump already said he would back Boris Johnson. They have a good relationship. They both have a very similar following with they have an anti-Euro stance where Boris Johnson wants to leave the European Union, no deal or no deal. Trump has always voiced his support for that. So in all likelihood, a stronger relationship with the White House and the UK would come from Boris Johnson. Jeremy Hunt says he has warm relations. He's also a career diplomat, but he's also very much seen as another version of Theresa May. He was the foreign secretary. He backed a lot of Theresa May's deals. So in all likelihood, he would have a less close relationship with Donald Trump. But at the minute, in all likelihood, it looks like Boris Johnson will be taking that top job.
All right, Mandy Clarke in London. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, shifting focus from the UK to Germany now. Deutsche Bank will pull out of global equity sales and trading and has slashed thousands of jobs as part of a restructuring plan to improve profitability. Now, Deutsche will cut 18,000 jobs for a global headcount of around 74,000 employees by the year 2022. The bank aims to reduce adjusted costs by a quarter to $19 billion over the next several years. The German bank's decision to scale back investment banking comes just 2 days after investment banking chief Garth Ritchie stepped down by mutual agreement. Deutsche Bank expects its restructuring plan to cost $8.3 billion by the end of 2022. The German bank may report a net loss of $3.1 billion in the second quarter of 2019. Now, Deutsche Bank had previously considered merging with rival Commerzbank to shore up its position, but merger talks collapsed in April amid political interference. The German lender has been pulled back by scandals, investigations and massive fines stemming from the financial crisis and other issues in recent years. Now, Deutsche Bank reached a $7.2 billion settlement with the U.S. Justice Ministry in January 2017 for allegedly misleading investors in the sale of mortgage-backed securities during the 2008 financial crisis. Weeks later, the bank was slapped with a $630 million fine over allegations of Russian money laundering. Those penalties came 2 years after the bank paid a $2.5 billion fine to the US and UK regulators for allegedly participating in a scheme to rig interest rates.
Dieser Umbau wird leider auch Arbeitsplätze kosten. Das lässt sich nicht vermeiden. Wir gehen aber davon aus, dass wir das aus eigener Kraft schaffen, dass wir kein Kapital von unseren Aktionären brauchen, sondern im Gegenteil, dass wir in einigen Jahren sogar wieder Kapital an unsere Aktionäre zurückgeben können. Es beginnt also eine neue Epoche für die Deutsche Bank, eine Epoche, in der wir die Deutsche Bank auf die Erfolgsspur zurückführen wollen, für unsere Kunden, für unsere Mitarbeiter und natürlich auch für unsere Aktionäre.